Hmm? आप इस पे बढ़ जाइएगा। ये, सही। हम्म, हम्म, so,
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the second day of the colloquium. We will start our colloquium today by a proposal defense by Mr. Aftab Alam. His supervisor is Professor Dr. Prem Kumar, and our examiners today here for this student is Dr. Janaka and Dr. Kashaya. His topic of research is SMEs in India, the challenges of internationalization and strategies for its survival. We welcome Mr. Aftab Alam.
Thank you. Good morning, friends and research fellows. This is a beautiful morning, and we are soaring high like a big, beautiful eagle towards our dreams and goals. So I avail this beautiful opportunity to express my sincere thanks and gratitude to my first supervisor, Dr. Prem Kumar, who has been instrumental and intellectual mentor at all times. So thank you, Dr. Prem. As well as I would like to appreciate Dr. Harvinder, who has been really supporting and very caring during this journey. Thank you, Dr. Harvinder. You are really a kind soul. Thank you so much. I must also appreciate Dr. Janaka, who has been really a good and prompt communicator and has been pushing us towards and accelerating us to achieve this journey as soon as possible. And the staff of Malaysia University of Science and Technology, who have really been very generous in terms of extending their supports and help to all the students. So thank you. So the topic of the research is SMEs in India, the challenges of internationalization and strategies for its survival. In today's defense, I will cover 3 chapters. The first chapter will be introduction, and details will follow later. Literature review, there are 4 components here. I will cover it later in the discussion. And the third one, research methodology. So all the components mentioned here, it will be mentioned later. First of all, background of the study. Background of the study, probably you have noticed from the title of the research that it is all about SMEs in India. So it is an attempt to describe how some of the dominant theories regarding the SMEs internationalization have impacted upon the internationalization process of SMEs in the past. So it is a deep study of those theories which have impacted the internationalization of SMEs in the past, and how the internationalization process behavior expressed by SMEs in terms of formulating strategies and choosing methods fit into the theoretical framework. It means business practice, whether they fit in the theories which have been presented and argued by different researchers, and whether these theories and models are still applicable to SMEs which are going international, with main focus on Indian SMEs. And the last one, whether the formulated and adopted strategies are still helpful in terms of surviving the question. According to the statistics, we find that at least 94 to 95% businesses perish. They initiate very strongly, but they perish from the market. So there are some, and those businesses which are small sizes and medium sizes. So that's a big question. So when we start and initialize our business with a low capital, or by a loan which we take from the bank, or something like that. So the question whether we are going to survive in the market or not. So that's a very hot topic here. So as a matter of fact, SMEs are considered to be very vital and dynamic in every country of the world, because its ability to generate the employment and to increase the exchange, and also it does not require a big capital and high technology. It means it can be started on low grounds. And if we see India, we find that SMEs have always represented the model of socio-economic policies of government of India, right? In terms of, and has emphasized judicious use of foreign exchange for import of capital goods and imports, labor-intensive mode of production, employment generation, etc. And on the top of that, effective contribution to foreign exchange. And according to the Chamber of Commerce, the report issued from the Chamber of Commerce 2016, there are a lot of things. When Chamber of Commerce says that it has been set, the Indian SMEs have been set to achieve the following goals, as like high contribution to domestic production, significant export earnings, low investment requirements, operational flexibility, etc. But still, there are Indian SMEs have big challenges, like inadequate access to financial resources, lack of access to interstate and international market, low capital base, lack of professionalism, and so on. In spite of these limitations, we can have a look here. How big is the Indian SME space? And from this diagram, we can find some statistics here. That is the second largest number of SMEs. India has the second largest number of SMEs, like 51 million SMEs there. It brings in approximately 45% of industrial output, 40% of exports, and 8 million enterprises in various industries, employing 69 million people. Includes 2.2 million women enterprises, creates 1.3 million jobs every year. So, in the light of the above discussion, the present study focuses on understanding the modes of internationalization of Indian SMEs in order to identify the best practices to overcome the challenges, define the needs of the Indian SMEs, and identify barriers which are and obstacles which prohibit Indian SMEs to go international. And problem statement is that we have seen the biggest piece of Indian SMEs, and it has already been contributing to the economy of India, but still there are so many impediments which needs to be solved and resolved. Darwinian theory says that the fittest survive. Fittest means which is low fittest, it is not going to survive. So taking this formula in the mind, SMEs needs to apply the suitable strategies in order to survive in the market. So that's a very hot topic and needs to be this area needs to be examined. A research question: what is the current status of SMEs in India? Do SMEs have management concepts, and which are useful to the SMEs internationalization process in Indian context? What are the challenges faced by SMEs in India currently? What are the factors to be considered for Indian SME rapid growth in terms of its internationalization? So these are 4 questions, and it has already been discussed with my board supervisor, Dr. Prem Kumar and Dr. Harvinder, and they have approved these questions. And research objectives, I've also discussed the research objectives with my supervisors. They have approved it. To identify the current status of SMEs in India, to analyze different challenges faced by SMEs in India following internationalization, and examine the roles of government, etc. Research hypothesis, research aim. I have already been signals that I have left only, I have very limited and short time. So I'm not going to explain everything here. And the structure of the study will be chapter number 1, introduction. Obviously, it has introductory character, and literature review. It combines both the classical approaches until 1970, from 1970 until now, and from the pragmatic point of view, it contains the business practice which are going on in India. Whether these theories does fit in those framework which has been presented by the researchers. And research methodology, chapter number 4, research framework and design. Probably you have noticed that literature review must contain the stuff like dependent variables, independent variables, moderating variables, and interweaving variables. But I will be doing that in chapter number 4, and chapter number 5, analysis and observation, and chapter number 6, conclusion, recommendation, and further research. So literature review, there are too many details, and you can notice that SMEs does not have any specific definition. It has so many definitions. World Bank says that there are at least more than 70 definitions in 130 countries and so on. And but there are some definitions presented by a European Commission in 2005, and World Bank. It fixes some criteria in order to fix what the SME is all about. So the 3 main criteria which have been fixed for that: the number of employees, turnover of business, and capital investment. You can see here. What are the medium size, how does it look like small size enterprises and micro size. And there are some definitions of internationalization, some discussion on that. And drive motives of SMEs internationalization. So the first one, entrepreneurial factor, push factor, pull factor, and chance factor. All these motives push the business to go international. And here are theories of internationalization and stage theories. These are the strongest one and the most reliable one. These are the selected state models, which are after going through to many literature reviews, just I have said it, means what I understood, like means stage theories as like presented by Johnson and Wiedersheim. It has 4 stages, and according to Bilki and Tisar, it has 6 stages. So these are all stage models. Yeah. So from this point of view, internationalization is achieved through the creation of an export activity through a process of growth in sequence and step by step. It has been argued very hard, like Uppsala model. It has so many critics here. This is the model, and there are some questions rises here. Very unfortunately, I don't have time to explain it. Otherwise, I would really love to explain all this stuff because it is really interesting. Critics to the Uppsala model, and the second theory, the second biggest theory, there is a network theory, and there is international entrepreneurship theory, network approach to internationalization based on Johnson and Matson 1988, and OLI model, resource-based model, and integrative model of small firms internationalization, knowledge-based model here, and strategies for SMEs internationalization. There are some good strategies here. So this study actually analyzes whether these strategies, which has already been fixed by the scholars, whether these are useful for the Indian SMEs. So ANSOF matrix, ethocentric strategy, polycentric strategy, geocentric strategy, and regiocentric strategy. The ANSOF matrix here. And the most important thing here, that the phases are described, the phases to implement the strategy, which has 3 phases: market research and analysis, forming of the expansion strategy, phase number 2, and phase number 3, implementation and control. Conclusion of literature review. Uppsala model was widely criticized, but still the researcher could not ignore its huge influence and importance. Network theory was also criticized that, okay, the relationship with other companies can be useful, but Uppsala model, like going through the stages, means network, only the relationship with other businesses abroad cannot be helpful. It must go through some stages. Both the Uppsala model and the network theory are often used side by side, and so on. Here is the chapter number 5, final chapter here, research methodology, research philosophy. It will be interpretivism because it includes surveys, experimental studies, longitudinal studies, and cross-sectional studies. Research approach, it will be, since the purpose of this study is to gain a better understanding of the internationalization process, so the quantitative research approach will be applied here. And if needed, so qualitative also will be mixed, but the main focus will be the quantitative. It has already been discussed with my supervisors. So they said I have to focus on one stuff, but if needed, allowed to use little bit. And research strategy is the survey through various means to be the most appropriate study for this strategy for this research, because the main aim of this research to gain an in-depth knowledge. Right, sample size. So sample size, I will be intending to collect the feedback from 250 Indian SMEs listed in the Chamber of Commerce in the following industries: textile, product mills, food manufacturing. And sampling technique, stratified sampling will be the most suitable one, because it allows to ensuring that the respondents of the population in the sample reflect the significant characteristics of the wider population. Data collection, the primary data, that it will be collected from the SMEs via feedback, interviews, secondary data from the journals, books, reports, and so on. And there are some institutes in India who are government authorities who communication has already been made with them, and they have been generous in terms of giving information. And sample characteristics, 50% will be small sized and 50% will be medium sized. Data analysis, there are some softwares like SPSS version 22 and AMOS shall be used for that, Likert scale, and also, yeah, Likert scale will also be used there. Ethical considerations, the all participations will be informed in detail what the purpose of the study is, and so the limitations. So obviously, every single study has some limitations. This study has also some limitations. One significant limitation of this study that will explore the internationalization process of SMEs in India only. Like means in some chapters it will be general, but obviously the main focus will be India. And then, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Aftab. We will open the session for comments by the examiner. We will start with Dr. Kashaya first.
Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. First of all, I need to say that I just received your thesis. Because of that, my corrections and my comments are on base of your presentation. Okay, later on I will send you the more feedback and comments. Can you go back to your research questions slide?
Which one, sir?
Research question.
Right. Yes, sir.
Okay. What do you mean by the first research question? What is the current status of SMEs in India?
Current status, sir, whether, I mean, they are, they have potential to go international, and whether there are some SMEs which are already international, but they have some issues which need to be addressed and resolved.
I think that the first research question is very general one, okay? And the other research question that you have is a part of that first research question. If you want to have a research question, you need to ask a specific one, okay? Means that the research question should be ask a specific question, not very general. What is the current status? So the current status in the finance, in the political, in the size, in many other aspects, you can answer to this question. Because of that, the answer of this question is a very general answer.
Thank you so much, sir. That's a really very beautiful comment. But as a matter of fact, it is the nature of a research. When you take any subject, obviously you have an entrance to go, right? If you address the very specific question from the very beginning, probably it will be very hard for you to make a good entry. So far, why there is current status. Current status means it is all about the information about the Indian SMEs there. It is like in trance in the main topic. So that's very beautiful comment, sir, and it is really useful. I will discuss with my supervisors in order to suggest me to be more specific. Thank you.
According to your topic, you have one part, SMEs in India, the challenge of internationalization and strategies for its survival, okay?
Yeah.
Where is the second part in your research question? Okay, you're looking for strategies for survival, okay? Where is that? Do you have any questions to cover this part, or do you have, okay, the strategies?
Yes, sir. For example, what are the challenges faced by the SMEs in India currently, right? Okay, that's not one.
This is the this is the first part of your topic.
Exactly, sir. What are the factors to be considered for Indian SMEs' rapid growth in terms of its internationalization? That's an indirect question, sir. That's indirect, but it contains the second part.
You didn't mention about any strategies, especially this is for growth, okay? But in topic you have for survival, okay? In the topic,
so it needs to be mentioned here, you mean, sir?
You need to have some question to cover all your topic, okay? The research question here, most of your research question cover just only the first part of your topic, okay?
Right.
So you don't have any direct questions to show that the second part, means the strategies for survival, also is covered by this research. Okay, you need to put something to show that the research question, in the research question also you have this.
That's a very valuable comment, sir. I really appreciate that.
Okay, another thing is in your second chapter, literature review,
So,
you bring all the titles by order. Okay, 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4. But you need to have some sort of categorization for your second chapter. Okay, in this part I'm talking about the strategies. The first strategy, 2.2, 2.1.1 is this strategy. Okay, but in the according to your table of contents as well, in the second chapter, you bring all the contents just only by order. Okay, you need to have some sort of categorization for this chapter. Okay, the first category, I'm talking about the SMEs. What is the SMEs? What is the size of it? What's the financial issue by the SMEs? Okay, then go to this is 2.1. Then you're going 2.2, you have the strategies for SMEs. Okay, you have some subtitle on that category. Okay, but you cannot bring all.
thank you, sir. So I understand that there must be a main title and underneath,
yeah, you
underneath
need to
the
have
details.
a few level subtitles as well. Okay,
Yeah.
all your titles is in one level. You need to have a title, subtitle, sub-subtitle.
I see. Thank you so much, sir. That's really good observation.
In your research methodology, I just hear that you said, if needed, you are using the qualitative method. What do you mean by if needed?
I was really sure that this will be a matter of question, sir.
Yeah. Because right now you present your proposal, okay? It means that you know what you want to do. Okay?
Exactly, yeah.
But whenever you say, if needed qualitative, this is some sort of question. Why? You just asking, what should be happen to use the qualitative or quantitative?
Actually, yes, sir, you are 100% right, and I agree with you. And I also prefer to know before doing anything. So if needed, taking into precaution as a researcher, sir. So anyway, I'm going to remove it, sir. Okay?
Because if needed, you cannot say if needed in your...
Exactly, yes. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Also, I see that you have a plan to use the interview. Okay?
Yeah.
Who are your interviewees?
It needs to be mentioned, by the way, sir?
Who are your interviewees? You have a plan to interview by who?
By 250 SMEs.
250 is the questionnaire.
Yes, 250 SMEs will be selected, right?
Yeah.
From the given industry, sir.
I also have a question for that 250. But
Right.
my question is that you said 250 questionnaires for SME and also interview.
Yes.
Who are the interviewees?
From those
Why you
SMEs,
need to
sir.
have an interview?
In
When
order
you send a questionnaire, why you want to have a questionnaire and interviews?
Yes, that's very important question, sir. For example, if I am physically available in India, okay, I usually don't live in India too much. If I'm there, probably I will get a chance to go to some SMEs in order to get in-depth.
Okay,
I
but
mean,
you
details.
want to ask same question that you have in questionnaire?
Yes.
You just want to go face to face and ask same questions that you have in your questionnaire.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, then it's a questionnaire. It's not interview. Because you're asking the same questions that you have in your questionnaire, just only face to face. This is one way that you can deliver the questionnaire.
So my question is to you, sir. Whether the questionnaire and interview cannot happen in one place, by the way?
But the questions should be different.
Obviously, sir.
Okay,
Obviously.
but right now you said that you want to ask same questions that you have in your questionnaire, just face to face. That one is the questionnaire. Okay, it's not interview. Interview is the different.
Interview questions will be totally different, sir, because if I go there and present my questionnaire in order to answer it, so what is the point to go there physically? So obviously,
okay, then,
it will be different.
Yeah, if you have a different questions, my question now is, what is your target by interview? Why you want to do the interview?
Because
which part
interview
of
you
your
get the information, directly, and I mean, it is like it is more powerful in terms of having proper observation. For example, if somebody is filling the questionnaire sending you from a different country, right? So obviously, I mean, you are getting the information, but obviously, I believe that interview is more powerful.
Okay, you mean that the target for questionnaire and interview is same. Both of them is for data collection. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. Then how you want to analyze the questionnaires output and the interviews output? Because this is two different tools. Okay.
Okay.
Questionnaire is a quantitative base. You are using the Likert scale. And the interview, you asking questions, and the answer of those questions will be the open-ended answers, means that they will explain for you. Okay, it's some sort of qualitative answers. Now you have a qualitative and quantitative. You cannot analyze the qualitative answers within the CSS or something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
What is your plan to use the combination of these two answers? Means that the answers coming from the questionnaire and the answers coming from the interview. You want to analyze these two categories together. How?
Thank you so much, sir. I really appreciate it too much. And just I would like to have your advisor regarding this. If both do not fit in the same place, so obviously I will skip the interview. Obviously it will save my energy and time also, right? Yeah. So I will be using.
My suggestion for you is.
Thank you so much, sir.
Whenever you are using the questionnaire, I think you no need to use the interview.
Exactly, sir. Yes.
Normally, you need to use the interview if you are using for factors. You have some research question, challenge factors, okay, or something like that. If you want to find those factors, what is the important factor in India's SMEs or something like that, you need to use the interview. And also, whenever you're doing the interview, it's very important that who you are doing the interview with them. Okay.
Actually, this idea, sir, the idea for taking the face-to-face interview came to my mind because probably if you have been to India and if you have obviously you have information about India, sir, so you'll find that there is a big number of ignorance there. People are not literate. Okay, so it will be challenging. Like, it is less likely that I will be getting the feedback from every single company or from every single SMEs. Even sometime you'll find the director and manager of SMEs who does not know how to read and write English. Okay, so it will be challenging. So the idea of face-to-face interview came to my mind based on the fact which India has. Yeah.
Okay, and the last question is, you said that 250 questionnaire, 250
SMEs, yeah.
You want to send the questionnaire.
Yes, sir.
You mean how many questionnaire? 250?
No, 200.
You're sending questionnaire to 250 SMEs.
Yeah.
But SME is not a person to answer to you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
The SME is a company, some sort of company. Mm-hmm. Then you're sending this questionnaire to the boss, to the managers, who?
Obviously the managers, the right person.
You mean that you're sending 250 questionnaire to 250 SME managers.
For example, Lakshmi Enterprises, for example, sir. So obviously the manager are two measures of Lakshmi Enterprises. Okay, means the person who has capacity to answer those questions.
How you reach to 250? Why 250?
250 because I believe that 250 it will be sufficient to for this study, sir. Because more than
that, you have a 50 million SMEs right now in India, yes?
Yeah.
Why are you selecting 250 from 50?
Actually, initially I wanted to select 1,000, sir, 1,000. But I was suggested by my supervisors.
There is some sort of equations and calculation to find how many respondents you need to have for your thesis. It depends on the number of population. For example, your population right now is 50 million, okay? For 50 million, the number of respondents should be more.
The population of India, sir, that is...
population of India, population of the SMEs in India.
Okay, right.
Okay? Dependent to the population of the SMEs in India, the number of respondents for your questionnaire should be higher than this.
So how much do you suggest, by the way?
No, it's not my suggestion. You need to calculate. Okay, there is some sort of equations and calculation. Later on, I will write for you in the comments. Okay, you need to find how many respondents you need to have. Okay.
Okay.
It's not something that you say, I think it's better to have a 250. You need to find, okay, according to the equation, according to my calculation, I found that I need to have a 384 respondents. At least.
All right, sir. Yeah.
Okay? Something like that. Then you can put the number there.
Thank you.
And the last one is the references. In my idea, is very old. Okay. Try to use, because the highest one is 2013. Right?
2017, sir. There are some, yes.
Okay, but it's not too much. But the things that is very eye-catching is most of them is below than 2000. Okay. Because of that, try to use more updated recent references.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate that.
Hey, Aftab, I have one question for you. What do you intend to have any theoretical contribution in your research?
I'm really sorry, sir. I could not get it.
Do you plan to have any theoretical contribution in your research?
Obviously.
Yeah. How?
Yeah.
Yeah, just answer my question. No need to flip through so many slides.
You mean theoretical contribution, sir?
Theoretical contribution.
Yeah, because according to my knowledge and understanding, sir, most of the studies about SMEs has been done regarding the developed countries. Okay? Developed countries. So India, obviously, it is one of the developing countries. I did not get a lot of things. There are no doubt there are very valuable articles by a big number of scholars available here and there, but I did not find any research giving in-depth knowledge about this topic, which can be a torchlight for the business initiators. Okay, so it will be helpful in terms of that it will be a multi-case analysis from a developing country, sir, and from the pragmatic point of view that it will be analyzing, taking the facts and figures from the practicing business, right? So it will be taking from 2 points of view, theoretical point of view and pragmatic point of view, sir.
So
I hope I answered the question.
So you're trying to find out whether some of the theory that you mentioned, for example, network theory, IET, or this OLI model, Uppsala model, whether they fit into the how SME work in India?
Exactly, sir. Whether these theories, yeah, they are still applicable, and these models needs to be, I mean, obviously the strategies which have been made, sir, based on the theories. Am I right, sir? Okay. Yeah, so whether these theories are still applicable and it is helpful in terms of survival of Indian SMEs over there, these strategies needs to be altered based on the some modifications which needs to be done in the theory.
Do you plan to come up with some sort of model or theory for SME in India?
Mm-hmm.
Do you intend to come up with some sort of new SME internationalization
yes,
model
actually, sir, it has very big correlation with the strategies which are applied in terms of internationalization of Indian SMEs. Okay, so during the research, I believe that if those strategies which are applied nowadays, right, they are helpful for the survival of Indian SMEs. Otherwise, Indian SMEs needs to formulate a new strategy, for example, a modified strategy, and this will lead to modify or to put something new in the theory.
Okay, do you
so
have
it has very big correlation in that.
Do you have your own research framework? Because I don't see any.
Research framework, sir. Yes, I mentioned that it is chapter number 4.
So you haven't put up yet?
Yes, there are only 3 chapters here.
Okay, when we say 3 chapters, that should include your conceptual framework. It should include your methodology. Yeah, because usually here we use 5 chapters, but you use 6 chapters. So
6 chapters, sir. Yes.
So you put your research framework in chapter 4.
Yes.
We expect it to be there.
So it needs to be it needs to be only 5, sir. You mean only 5?
Yeah. Usually that's the way we write our thesis here. So please talk to your supervisor.
Okay.
Okay. And another thing, how to select your interviewee or your respondents, the sample?
I have mentioned here, sir. I mentioned in there.
Okay. Whenever we talk about strategy, we have to somehow measure their success, their performance, to see in your case how successful they have done in their internationalization, right? So how do you know if one SME has been successful in internationalizing their business?
Obviously. So SMEs, those are listed already in Chamber of Commerce, right, sir? Means it will be selected, the SMEs will be selected based on the information, based on the details provided already on the website, on the Chamber of Commerce, right, sir? So it will be stratified sampling, like means choosing from them based on the details.
Based on what criteria?
Pardon?
You stratify based on what criteria? Based on where they are, or based on how old they are, or based on what? Capital or what?
Actually, that's really a hard question, sir.
Yeah, you say you want to stratify. Yeah, you have to stratify based on something, right?
Based on the details of the SME is provided on the in the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, but how you are the one who is doing stratify. For example, you do not want to have all the larger SME, or you want to have some SME run by women, or you want to have some SME that's less successful. So how do you stratify?
Yeah, actually, basically, just I wanted to select those SMEs based on the industry, like textile industry, for example, sir. So 50 SMEs will be selected from there, okay? And 50, for example, leather manufacturing SMEs, and 50, for example, for electronics. So based on these criteria. So I understand your question, Dr. Janaka. It is a very smart question and very challenging to answer, really.
Yeah.
But what you advise, by the way, sir?
Because you're trying to understand why the factors why some SME become successful in their internationalization. So I suggest you to also talk to or interview or get responses from some less successful SME, even failed SME, who are trying to internationalize. Then you can really compare those successful ones, those less successful ones. Otherwise, you'll be only talking to those surviving SME. If you start to talk to those less successful or failed SME, you start to see why certain factor is important to their success.
Thank you so much, sir. That's really $1 million advice, sir.
Yeah, pay me, please.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Regarding the research method, it is okay you choose a mixed method. You have qualitative and quantitative, but you need to make up your mind. If you want to do in-depth interview, yeah, go ahead. You should do some in-depth interview to really understand what is in the mind of these SME owners. Usually you do some exploratory research to understand the nature of the problem, the issue that really concerns them, before you go into like quantitative method to have to generalize your framework or your theory or your findings. So it's perfectly okay. So talk to your supervisor on this. Or you have to be very sure what method you want to use.
Thank you so much.
It's needed.
Shall I get the feedback, sir? Shall I get the feedback in writing, by the way? Well, probably I will miss some points, which valuable points have been discussed here. Oh, thank you so much, sir. So I wish to receive an email, sir, so it will be much easier for me. Sir.
Very good morning, Mr. Aftawala.
Sir.
Thank you for your presentation, your research that you have already done, and of course it will be as the beginning of the way somehow. Actually, all of us, we are in the same boat, and we try to just only improve about the research, and it will be as the credit of yourself and also our university. And actually, the things that I want to mention that because it's some kind of the session for all the students over here, the PhD candidates, and it maybe that's the same part and will be as the common sense. I just know that your research has not been done before by the SME Corporation India, because as everybody knows that India is the most powerful and the first ranking SMEs in the world. And you have the highest number of the SME, and most of the countries benchmark the India as the SME internationalization. I worked with the Malaysia Corporation SME for many years over here. And we have a lot of libraries and about the publications regarding to this topic. I don't want to say that it is already happened in India, but I want to know that if any other researcher wants to know how you are proving that this research has not been done before and it is the unique one. Through these all years, the India not reached to this point that how they can be as the internationalization part, and most of the Indians companies and corporations go to the international market.
Thank you so much, sir. That's really a beautiful question. So I probably mentioned during the presentation that there are so many valuable articles done by good researchers and scholars and available in plenty. But such kind of research, like PhD research, I did not find with the same title. It takes the SMEs from different perspectives. But in terms of internationalization, I did not find any in-depth researcher.
No, I don't mean regarding to the articles. I mean regarding to the SME corporation. Any countries have their own SME corporation. In Malaysia, we have it. In India, definitely we have. Therefore, SME corporation is one of the major role and one of the first authority activity they have it to find it this question and help the SMEs to be as an internationalization. Therefore, how it could be done?
So I'm answering the same way, that articles are available, sir, but research I really did not find, and probably if you're interested, you can go through that. You will not find with any research with the same title, and if there is any, probably I don't know. No, and more so, sir, as Dr. Go, yesterday, he began with a very good point. Research. What is research all about? Search and research.
No, I don't mean regarding to that one. I don't want to go through that one. It is as some kind of the very restricted points. It is not related to the research. It is related to the SME corporation, and you are dealing with the SME corporation. Exactly. That's the first part. My suggestion is that you will bring the proof regarding to the SME corporation in India that this research has not been done before.
Okay, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah. That's for your safety as well.
Yeah.
And regarding to this level, if you want to do it as the SME for India, it becomes as the MBA level research, not PhD level. For the PhD level, you should add something to the body of knowledge. In this kind, it will be as the framework, and even we didn't see your framework, and I'm so very surprised. I waited for that, because for the PD, the minimum thing is that you should provide your research framework, your model, your research model, and how it, and regarding to the hypothesis, also we didn't see that. You just only mentioned one hypothesis, and you just only go through it, and you just only left it. But no problem related to the committee. But the most important part is that if you want to stick to the India, it will become as the project again for the SME Corporation. Maybe you will go and just only generalize it as the SME for the Asia or as the developing countries. Therefore, it could be done and it could be generalized as the body of knowledge for developing countries in India. Okay? That's the other part. Regarding to the methodology that you mentioned, that maybe or not, no, it's not because you don't have time, just only keep it and maybe you want to go through it and it depends on the supervisor or not. The other part regarding to the number of the interviewees, as the Dr. Khashaya mentioned, that's the simple equation over there, and it depends on the level of E value that you will select it. Will be as the 7, 6, or 8. It comes to 198, 284, 383, and vice versa. You should bring the evidence regarding to the number of the equation that you have it, and mostly it's much more easier. And for this kind of, and the level of the PhD level, definitely you need the mixed method, qualitative and quantitative. How you find your questions, how you create your questionnaires. Through the qualitative method, you reach to the some kind of the sort of questions, then you are finalizing and go through the generate the questionnaires as well. These are just as the suggestion. It depends on you and the committee.
Thank you, sir. I salute, sir. Thank you. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Aftab.
Yeah.
Okay, we will close the
Thank you.
session and move on to our next agenda.
Hi.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for the second day of 2018 PhD Colloquium. Without further ado, let's invite Dr. Nazri to begin his talk on environment and energy this morning. Yeah.
You have the PDF format. Do you have any other for the PPT format?